I made the decision to withhold the men's basketball program from all conference and NCAA postseason competition.
This is a punishment I thought would never happen this season. This is a decision that's as harsh as anything I've seen.
We found out yesterday that we had a problem that was verified by Chuck and the NCAA. And so we want to deal with this in the most rapid way we possibly can.
A punch in the gut for U of L basketball. WDRB has team coverage on what this postseason ban means for the Cards.
Thanks for joining us today. I'm Elizabeth Woolsey.
And I'm Gilbert Corsi. Huge developments today in the University of Louisville basketball sex scandal involving allegations of players and prostitutes.
The school's own investigation found proof so damning it has taken itself out of postseason play. We begin our team coverage with WDRB's Tom Lane and Eric Crawford to break down what we learned just a few hours ago.
Elizabeth and Gilbert, there is no postseason for this U of L men's basketball team this year. No ACC tournament, no NCAA tournament, and it is truly heartbreaking for the team and the fans, especially given how well they've been playing. Eric Crawford, are you surprised that the news came down as it did?
I think everybody was surprised. I think Rick Pitino found out in the last 24 hours. I think it was a quick decision. Super Bowl Sunday, the national media is focused on that game, so it is a fortuitous timing for the announcement, but not certainly for these players. And it is a significant announcement because we've seen teams impose these retro or proactive bans before, but not when they had teams this good that figured to be a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. So as we heard from ACC Commissioner John Swofford, this is a significant step for them.
Well, and Dr. James Ramsey, U of L president, said they've been getting pieces of information as time has gone on to their committee. They found out yesterday that they had, in fact, broken some rules and decided to act very quickly.
Well, he determined that yesterday, that was a determination he made, that there are violations. Now, as far as details, I asked him for those. I said, you're making a public move here in stopping your postseason. Can you show us of anything public in your reasoning? And they could not. So everybody has to kind of take their reasoning on faith.
Here's some reaction today from Tom Jurich and Rick Pitino.
Although it's a very disappointing time, a very sad day for all of us. It's extremely sad for our players, who I think you've all come to know and love as a great group of men, young men. We want to do what's right by the university and by the NCAA.
This penalty is quite substantial, much more. It comes with complete shock to me because I've been kept in the dark with all the things that Dr. Ramsey has gone through with his committee.
A complete shock to Rick Pitino. He said he met with his team today and it was one of the hardest things he had to do. Especially difficult given the fifth-year transfers, Damian Lee and Trey Lewis, coming here to try to experience an NCAA tournament. They will not get that chance now.
No, you really feel for those guys because they had really invested themselves in building a team atmosphere and doing things the right way here. Now they're not going to get the reward, at least as far as the NCAA tournament is involved for that. We'll just have to see what other things take place with this team. This might not be. There are a couple guys on this team who were within the window, who made official visits during the time of these allegations. Right. But for these two guys, they certainly, you hate it for them.
Yeah, we're going to hear from Damian Lee and Trey Lewis coming up a little later at 6 p.m. We'll be back with you with some more here at 4:30. For Eric Crawford, I'm Tom Lane, outside the University of Louisville practice facility for WDRB Sports.
Thanks to you both. The attorney for Katina Powell just sat down with WDRB to share his thoughts on U of L's announcement.
Larry Wilder says the university's decision is an indication that what Powell wrote in Breaking Cardinal Rules is the truth.
There was certainly a palpable feeling watching the administrators talk about what had happened, that they truly understand the seriousness now of the things that occurred.
We want to bring in WDRB's Rick Bozich now. What is this an indication of what U of L discovered just yesterday as far as this NCAA investigation?
Well, Elizabeth, I think it's an indication of how serious they're taking it and how serious the violations are. You're talking about taking a team out of the NCAA tournament that had a really good chance to be a Sweet 16 Final Four. As wide open as this year is, Louisville could have won a national championship. They're in the mix of teams that could have, and I think it's an attempt by them to mitigate any penalties for the future.
Yeah, let's go down that road. Does it temper any future sanctions? We saw Syracuse do this for 2015. SMU's doing it at the end of this season.
You know, it's too soon to say, because one thing we didn't learn today is what they're admitting to and how many different violations there were. I asked, and all they said, you know, we came across a violation. It could be multiple violations. When we talked to Larry Wilder a little while ago, he mentioned that Katina Powell told the NCAA that as many as 12 players and recruits were involved. So if you've got that many, it's pretty significant.
Can you update us on the status of the grand jury investigation, the police investigation, the NCAA investigation, which obviously the university got some news on yesterday? Where do all of these things stand, and how much longer is expected to take?
Right. I know that as far as the NCAA investigation, the sense seems to be it might be until June or July. The NCAA investigator has talked to a lot of the players. He was at Louisville this week, but they're very methodical. As for the grand jury, I'm not sure on that, Gilbert.
Right now, Jim Ramsey is the only one with this information. Tom Jurich and Rick Pitino have been in the dark on this whole thing.
Absolutely, and it was very apparent at the press conference today that when it was over, Dr. Ramsey got up and walked out by himself. It didn't look like, it looked like there was a little bit of a fracture there between Coach Pitino and Dr. Ramsey.
Certainly some shock on U of L's campus after this news. Rick Bozich, I'm sure you'll be writing about this on WDRB.com.
Yes, I will.
Want to switch now to our Facebook friends who are sounding off on this postseason ban. Rogers says they shouldn't punish the players. The scum always floats to the top. Ramsey, Jurich, and Pitino should stand up and take the fall for this. Adam writes, they knew they did wrong and should be banned for the postseason forever. There is no way Pitino didn't know about this.
And Rachel writes, why should the current players have to suffer from what happened in the past? So sad to hear this. To join the conversation, go to WDRB News Facebook and Twitter pages right now. In other news, police say there's no evidence of criminal wrongdoing a day after an infant was found unresponsive at a Jeffersonville daycare and later died.
The 10-week-old baby girl stopped breathing around noon yesterday. Officials say the daycare was operating without a license, but neighbors call the babysitter a wonderful caretaker and didn't doubt the safety of their own children when they stayed with her. Police say the investigation will stay open until a medical examination is completed. They're accused of funneling drugs into Scott County, Indiana.
WDRB's Danielle Lama explains police say they busted a drug ring today, and our camera was rolling during the raids.
Officials say 10 people were indicted as part of this investigation, and 6 of them were arrested here in Scott County. The sun hadn't come up yet when investigators got to Benito Rodriguez's Scottsburg home. We were there as the 38-year-old and his girlfriend were taken out in handcuffs. His house and nearby business then searched. Local officials say Rodriguez is the biggest drug dealer in Scott County and part of a criminal network.
I can tell you that this organization has been dismantled.
$34,000, 12 guns, and drugs were seized Friday. The investigation spanning 3 states. 6 people were taken into custody in Scott County. Suspected drug suppliers were arrested in Indianapolis, Louisville, and Detroit. They're all facing federal drug charges.
We are sick and tired of drug dealers. We are sick and tired of burying our children. And we are sick and tired of our broken families.
Officials say the group mostly provided meth and Opana. Opana is the drug largely tied to the HIV epidemic in this community. Health officials say addicts were sharing needles to inject the powerful painkiller. We're told the health crisis sparked this investigation that started last June.
These are people that saw a demand, sought to infest a community, did so, and made money off it.
Several agencies took part in Friday's roundup: the Sheriff's Department, State Police, DEA, and ATF. Officials say a large amount of Opana has now been cut off from the community.
If you're thinking about filling that void right now, I would think twice, because we will find you and we will put you in jail also.
They also say it'll take more than just arrests to solve the problem.
Other steps have to be taken. We have to focus as well on prevention, education, and treatment, or other suppliers will fill the demand.
Officials say this criminal investigation is ongoing. In Scott County, I'm Danielle Lama, WDRB News.
This week, we returned to the site of a failing sewage plant that dumped raw waste into public water. We found, despite a new operator, there is still a sewage problem and will likely last for years.
Before, essentially what you saw in August was a lot of just plain raw sewage.
and after.
Right now, there's still sewage going into the creek, but it's now being screened, disinfected, and it's also highly diluted.
Not perfect, but progress, says Jerry Kennedy, and that's been the constant effort ever since September when the Bullitt County Sanitation District took over the failing Hunters Hollow sewage site from Bullitt Utilities. Last summer, WDRB uncovered an environmental disaster here. The private utility company eventually abandoned the plant, never fully fixing it after a collapse in 2014. The Sanitation District took over as the new operator, and since then,
The building has been repaired, the pumps on the inside have now been rebuilt.
the site looks completely different. Weeds cleared away, a fresh coat of paint, fencing installed. I couldn't even walk here 6 months ago because of all the raw waste, that black film covering the ground. And look over here, the package plant, that rusted out shell that collapsed in March of 2014 is gone. New equipment's been installed. But Kennedy still can't stop all the waste from going into the creek. The Division of Water says this is not supposed to happen. And although the water's being treated and screened, E. coli and ammonia levels remain higher than legal limits.
We just cannot overnight fix this.
The problem, every time it rains, it overflows the system. The pump station is not strong enough for the increased flow. The Sanitation District plans to roll this site into larger sewer upgrades in Bullitt County throughout the next 2 years. Until then,
Nothing I can do about it.
not perfect, but progress. Bullitt Utilities, meanwhile, has been forced into bankruptcy. The company owes millions to disaster response teams who responded after the sewage plant collapsed in 2014.
Your phone bill might go up even if you don't make one single call.
Free phones for Kentucky's low-income residents, but the state is running out of money to pay for them. Coming up, why you could be footing that bill.
I think we're going to see some rain showers late this weekend, but Advanced Track shows it transitions over to snow. When to expect that, and if anything could accumulate next.
Thousands of Kentuckians use free government phones.
WDRB business reporter Samantha Chapman explains why the program is in danger, even though you're paying the bill.
I can't afford to pay for a phone. I'm broke.
Kenneth Hammond is one of more than 100,000 people in Kentucky with a Lifeline phone. The wireless device is issued to low-income applicants who can't afford the average phone bill.
It's good to have that phone for emergencies, call 911, or just to call someone, see if you can get a ride.
Let's get you a free phone, 500 minute unlimited text.
Through federal and state funding, the Kentucky Universal Service Fund was established to make phone service available to everyone.
I can get you flip phones.
Problem is that fund has been rapidly depleted over the last few years and is in danger of running out of money. More people are aware of the program and are getting phones through the program. Those are the sorts of things we're going to have to look at over the long term.
The Kentucky Public Service Commission has opened an investigation to determine how the program will stay afloat. But it doesn't just affect low-income customers.
It affects everybody who's got a phone line.
Now, if you have a landline or a wireless phone, take another look at your bill because you're already paying for these free phones.
So you and I, for every phone line that's in our name, we pay 8 cents a month into that fund. The two options are either increase the per line surcharge per month from 8 cents to 14 cents, or cut the subsidy to $2 from $3.50.
That means Lifeline customers may have to pay the difference. But either way, Smith says she needs her phone.
They're very helpful, and I hope and pray to God that they don't take them away.
The PSC is now accepting public comments. If you'd like to weigh in on the free phone issue, you can go to our website right now at WDRB.com. Reporting from the Urban Government Center, Samantha Chapman, WDRB News.
The Dow down more than 250 at one point after the January jobs report showed a slowdown in job creation and led to concerns of a possible interest rate hike. Tech stocks also took a beating. The Dow ends up plummeting nearly 212 points to close at 16,204. The Nasdaq loses a whopping 146 points, ending at 4363. And that's today's business news.
Mark's in with the Look Each forecast now, and I feel like every time I see you this week, it's a little bit colder than the day before.
Well, you know, I think actually, since you're not going to see me this weekend, that may actually be accurate. If I saw you this weekend, it's going to be warmer on Saturday and Sunday. So maybe we need to make plans to see each other break the trend. But I think early next week, it's going to get colder. So bottom line here is chilly conditions. Look at these morning lows this morning. Some really some tough numbers out there. 17 from E-Town, 17 in Lanesville. Louisville bottomed out at 23. I promised you outside of the city we were going to see some teens and saw quite a bit of them out there. Clear skies, light winds. Ideal to get chilly temperatures. Time lapse here from 2 to 3 shows just some of these high clouds out there. This is the reason I show you this time lapse, because I want you to kind of sense what I think we're going to have to deal with for part of the weekend, and that is just mid-level clouds. These are not the kind of clouds traditionally that cause any real problems, filtered sunshine, but I think we're going to see a lot of these as we go through the weekend. Our temperature 47, and officially the sky condition is cloudy, and I can't argue it, but there's a big difference between overcast, gloomy, and when you have a cloudy condition outside. Yes, the cloud does cover the sky, but also at the same time, the sun filters through. At 47 downtown, it's 43 degrees in LaGrange, currently 45 in Jasper, 45 Madison, 44 degrees E-Town. And to our north and west, it does get a little bit cooler at 33 in Chicago, 39 in St. Louis, but that's really not what's heading in our direction. I think these 50s are more what's heading in our direction in the short term. Well, you look at the satellite, it looks like you're dealing with an overcast sky, but as mentioned, this is kind of one of those where bark's worse than the bite. These are mid-clouds. You see breaks in the clouds, and then you run into more clouds to the west. This is why I'm calling Saturday a mix of sun and clouds. As we go into advanced track, you can see it shows the mid-clouds out there through the overnight hours with temperatures dropping to around 30. And once again tomorrow, it shows these on and off mid-clouds as we go through the day. Bottom line is temperatures should get to around 50, a mix of sun and clouds. For Sunday, the day looks like it's going to start off with a lot of sunshine. It looks like in the afternoon we'll go cloudy, and then this is the front, and the front will generate rain showers on the nose. It's just too warm at the surface to do anything else. By 10 p.m. we've got rain in Louisville that goes through about midnight on a Sunday night into Monday morning, and the beginning side of this system will be rain, and then you will notice on Monday transitioning over to snow showers. So on Monday, on Tuesday, we're going to have to deal with some of those. Tonight, our low temperatures back at around 29 degrees, partly cloudy, some frost likely again out there tonight with light winds. Tomorrow afternoon, high temperatures in there at 50 degrees with a mix of sun and clouds. And into the next 3 days, Saturday's the better of the 2 weekend days, but Sunday's not bad. Mike, our rain showers don't come until late, and then a 70% chance of light snow and snow squalls on Monday. We'll talk accumulations in 20 minutes.
All right, thank you, Mark. Heading out this afternoon, traffic's been a little bit busy here. Take a look at Dixie Highway out near the Watterson Expressway. We're a little bit slow moving on the south and the north side of the Watterson, and the Watterson's been moving well. Taylor Boulevard over to the ramps at 65. We're a little bit slow moving westbound Watterson at Poplar Level Road over to those mergers with the 65 north or southbound ramp. No delay, 64 and I-71 coming in from the east end. New Albany, you're moving very well across the Sherman-Mitten Bridge. We have a little bit of a backup here southbound 65 in the area of Stancifer and 10th Street. And then as we head across the Lincoln, we're a little bit heavy each direction. A hospital curve is coming in over top of Broadway. And here's what we look like each side of 65 this afternoon. From the Oxmoor Auto Group Traffic Center, I'm Mike Marshall with Beat the Traffic.
Mike, thank you. A suspect rolled into court in a wheelchair and made some shocking allegations.
Why the man accused of shooting a Shively police officer says he had no choice but to do it.
Guns or no guns? Why an incident here at the Louisville Palace has led to action in Frankfort.
Guns or no guns in private venues.
WDRB's Lawrence Smith explains an incident in Louisville involving an off-duty police officer as a local lawmaker taking action.
The bill filed this week was prompted by an incident here at the Louisville Palace last December. 2 off-duty police officers were denied entry into a concert here unless they left their handguns behind. Live Nation, the owner of the Palace, has a strict no weapons rule for every event from Bonnie to Bennett. That rule conflicts with LMPD policy, which requires officers to be armed at all times.
Sworn duties don't take a break.
State Representative Denny Butler, an ex-police officer himself, has filed a bill to address the issue. House Bill 327 would allow off-duty officers in good standing to carry their weapons anywhere they can carry them while on duty.
And if we see a fight that takes place, we can't just stand by, whether we're off duty or on duty. So now we're asking policemen to go and interact with a violent situation not being armed.
Democrat Steve Riggs of Louisville has filed a similar bill that includes retired officers.
I don't think it's appropriate to ask them to step in harm's way if they don't have all the tools they need to enforce the law.
Butler says this is not just about supporting police, but also about public safety.
With what's going on across the country and in the world, who better to have in public places than policemen?
Live Nation says it has no comment. Outside the Louisville Palace, Lawrence Smith, WDRB News.
A crushing announcement from the University of Louisville today involving its basketball team's sex scandal.
It's all we have left this season to look forward to.
The plea Rick Pitino is making to fans today.
Cold, hard, fake cash. The Secret Service is investigating a scam involving Craigslist. What you need to know if you're selling.
So this penalty is quite substantial, much more. It comes with complete shock to me.
Players, prostitutes, now the punishment. University of Louisville basketball coach Rick Pitino reacts to the news that his team will not have a postseason.
We continue our team coverage now with WDRB's Tom Lane and Eric Crawford to explain more on what we learned this afternoon. Hey, guys.
Gilbert and Elizabeth, it was pretty shocking news, I'm sure, throughout Cardinal Nation today. No ACC tournament, no NCAA tournament for a team that really could have made a pretty deep run in both of those. Surprised at all by the timing of this, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised more by the action itself, not so much by the timing. Everything we had heard was that this was going to be a process that took into the summer. Obviously, they got some information that led them to believe they needed to go ahead and do something now.
More reaction from Rick Pitino this afternoon.
This is a punishment I thought would never happen this season. This is a decision that's as harsh as anything I've seen. But I'm a soldier in this army, and I will go along with Dr. Ramsey, and certainly there's no one in life I have more respect for than Tom Jurich. So we will go along with this, and we will play the last 9 games of the season as if they're the last 9 games we'll ever play the game. So I would like you to call to our fans to come out in full force tomorrow in support of these incredible young men.
And the Cardinals with 4 home games remaining among those 9 games, and the first one is tomorrow against Boston College. And Eric, this is certainly not the end of things. The Cardinals hoping this will mitigate whatever punishments may still be coming from the NCAA.
Well, that's right. We don't even know what the university stance is on what happened. It's like a judge proclaiming a sentence and not really announcing what the charges were. So there's a lot yet to come with this.
And we're going to hear from Damian Lee and Trey Lewis, the players really most affected by this, coming up at 6. We'll have more coming up in sports during this newscast. For Eric Crawford, I'm Tom Lane outside the U of L practice facility for WDRB Sports.
All right, thanks, guys. You know, we've been following the allegations from the beginning. They really started last year when we first learned that a book was about to be released.
On October 2nd, 2015, the University of Louisville first responds to allegations in breaking Cardinal rules. Pitino denies any knowledge of wrongdoing. On October 8th, Ohio State freshman basketball player and former Louisville recruit Jawan Lyle confirms gist of allegations in interview. And later that month, Commonwealth's Attorney's Office subpoenas Breaking Cardinal Rules book publisher. On October 23rd, Andre McGee, former U of L player and director of basketball operations, resigns from his coaching position at the University of Missouri, Kansas City.
On November 9th, women named as prostitutes in Breaking Cardinal Rules joined a defamation lawsuit against the book's authors and the publisher. And then on November 19th, Powell's attorney says she met with NCAA investigators. Then fast forward to today, the University of Louisville says it will sit out the 2015-2016 postseason, finding violations that occurred in the men's basketball program in the past.
And you can imagine we are getting strong reaction from U of L fans today.
WDRB's Valerie Chin explaining what the word is on campus. I'd imagine it's shock, Val.
They are shocked. We talked to several students on campus who are shocked and saddened about no postseason play. Some are wondering if they'll even attend tomorrow's game at noon. Here's what students had to say.
Well, at first, I didn't really want to believe it, but then it was like, oh, crap, it's true. So then I look at the press conference, and I realized that it was actually Ramsey that made it and not the NCAA, and I was more shocked about that than anything else.
Why?
I just expected him to want his university to have more publicity than to just get kicked out of the tournament. So yeah, I'm really shocked about it.
I got a ticket for tomorrow. I don't know if I'm gonna go or not, so.
Why?
I mean, with all this stuff going on, I mean, I don't know what the turnout's gonna be like, you know. I think I might go I'll probably go to support Damian Lee and Trey Lewis for the most part.
I'm not even sure if it actually happened, if it didn't happen, still don't know. But I mean, either way, accusations went out, so I mean, those things should never go around. We shouldn't even have the thoughts of people doing that. But at the same time, I understand the punishment, but I don't like it.
I just really can't wrap my head around it because there could be so many other things that they could have done instead of just take us out of the tournament. I mean, I guess this is a rightful punishment for us, but it's still a big thing for us. I don't see why they should just take us out.
And students are feeling very bad for the basketball players. We'll take you to that press conference live at 6 here at the Yum Center on Floyd Street. Valerie Chin, WDRB News.
Thank you, Valerie. Selling something on Craigslist, the U.S. Secret Service is warning people in Kentuckiana to be careful.
WDRB's Rachel Collier explains how sellers are being duped. Rachel?
The suspects are paying for items with fake money, and Louisville agents with the Secret Service say the suspects may be dangerous and carrying guns.
I've used Craigslist a number of times. Everything was always on the up and up, and this is the first encounter I've had where I got scammed.
This man got ripped off trying to sell his PlayStation 4 on Craigslist.
I bought it for roughly about $320 and asked $425 for it.
He met an interested buyer at a local McDonald's parking lot. He wants to remain anonymous for his safety. He's learned the suspects may be dangerous.
Came over to me, counted out the money, took the PlayStation 4 and then ran.
Minutes later, he realized the bills were worthless.
Doing the exchange, you're not holding the money up to a light. You're not inspecting it. I mean, if it looks really good, as this did, you're gonna get fooled.
Can you tell which one's the fake? You really can't tell the difference unless you feel them. This one is the fake one. The Secret Service is investigating and says the suspects have been aggressive in some cases. At least one victim was threatened with a gun.
And if somebody shows you a gun, obviously the best thing for you to do is back off and do just as that victim did and report it to the police department.
The Secret Service started seeing an uptick of this scheme around Christmas, and agents have been going after leads since then. They believe the scammers are working at a group in Kentuckiana. They go after electronics like gaming systems and cell phones. If you're selling these, be cautious.
Do it in a public place. You do it perhaps where there are cameras around. You also don't do it by yourself. You take a friend or someone with you.
This victim knows he's out the money and a PlayStation, but he has hope in one thing.
They're out there trying to, catch these guys before they take advantage of anyone else.
The Secret Service is aware of at least 5 victims, but they think there are many more. Rachel Collier, WDRB News.
Very interesting, Rachel. Thank you. The man charged with shooting a Shively police officer went to court today in a wheelchair.
Kenneth Probus says he acted in self-defense when he shot Officer Wes Singleton in the legs last month. Police were serving a search warrant, but Probus's family says he thought it was a home invasion. Probus allegedly shot an officer before he was shot several times. He faces charges including attempted murder and drug trafficking. His bond is set at $250,000. The Louisville man accused of killing a clerk at a convenience store near U of L's campus appears before a judge. James Spalding faces charges including murder, attempted murder, and fleeing or evading police. He's accused of walking into the stop-and-go convenience store yesterday and killing an employee, Denny Davis. Spalding then reportedly shot into a nearby home and led police on a chase. His bond is set at $250,000.
The father accused of murdering a Louisville mother in front of their kids pleads not guilty. Police say 34-year-old Corey Chapman killed Leonte Wade last month on Whitney Avenue. Officers say Chapman is the father of 2 of Wade's 4 children, and they say their 2 sons were there when Chapman pulled the trigger. Wade's family says Chapman also robbed her. She lost her life, but her legacy lives on.
A final farewell to a Kentucky civil rights icon, the fitting tribute that even surprised the family of Senator Georgia Davis Powers.
Advanced Track shows some light snow and snow squalls moving into our area. I think this is going to be in here next week, and I'll talk about when to expect it and how much next.
A final goodbye today for the Kentucky civil rights leader who helped women and minorities find a voice.
WDRB's Stefan Johnson tells us how Georgia Davis Powers is being honored and remembered.
Behind me, St. Stephen Baptist Church was packed with family, friends, and dignitaries from across the state. They were here to celebrate the life and legacy of Senator Georgia Davis Powers.
Nor angels, nor principalities.
The church stands as the family of Senator Georgia Davis Powers walks in during her funeral service. The niece and namesake of the late senator, Georgia Montgomery Hampton, plays the Lord's Prayer, and then words to honor the life and legacy of a civil rights icon.
Had Georgia not come on the scene, blacks would not have access to public accommodations and voting rights.
Former Miss Kentucky Kia Hampton sings a song of praise, and then Senator Powers is eulogized by Reverend Dr. Regina Thomas, the former Secretary of State of New Jersey, who was mentored by Powers in Frankfort.
Not only did she work alongside giants of civil rights movement, but she was a giant herself.
The church is full of who's who in Kentucky politics, all bipartisan in their love of the late senator.
She was a real inspiration to me. She was a mentor to me.
She was a giant. She was an icon. There's no question about her.
To say that she made a significant contribution is a gross understatement. She literally changed people's lives forever.
Just an old sweet song. The service ends with an unexpected but fitting song and tribute.
I was really surprised to hear that, Georgia, on your mind. That was beautiful.
It was almost like he wrote it specifically for Georgia Davis Powers.
Senator Powers was laid to rest at Cave Hill Cemetery. At St. Stephen Baptist Church, I'm Stefan Johnson, WDRB News.
Mark Weinberg's WDRB weather forecast has the seal of approval from the American Meteorological Society.
Cindy Williams sent this picture here of the sunrise this morning out of Shepherdsville, Kentucky. Nice to see the moon there, some of the bright colors as the sun was coming above the horizon. Overall today, not bad, reaching a high of 47. Cold morning, 23 degrees. So we saw a pretty big swing from low to high temperature today. Our averages are 45 and 28. Outside, we've seen the high clouds increasing. We expected these after about 3, and we've seen them. 47 right now. Winds west-southwest at 10 miles an hour. Dew point remains pretty low. As we look around our region, you start to see there's a little bit of a warmer surge that has developed, and that's going to last here through the weekend. Then what will change as we go into the second half of the weekend is the cold in Canada will filter down. Now, this is going to take some time. It will start on Monday, go through Tuesday, and then really we'll feel it fully on Wednesday and on Thursday. And the storm system that's going to do this is this storm system that's coming into the Pacific Northwest. What it's basically going to do is get caught underneath the polar jet, and this will help that jet tug the air from the North Pole down into the U.S. This is the storm system it's really a weird one in the sense that it's going to go completely under us to our south. I mean, completely underneath us, and we'll be on the north side of this thing, and really what we're going to see is just some mid and high clouds, which Advanced Track shows tonight and shows on and off through the day tomorrow. I think the best way I can describe tomorrow is intermittent clouds. As we go towards Sunday, we start the day off mostly sunny. Our temperatures make a move into the lower 50s, and then here comes the front. Advanced Track showing by 8 p.m. the rains in our western counties. So you'll notice I've got a rain chance on there, but let me be clear, that rain chance is more for the night and not for the day. Rain is very likely Sunday night into Monday morning. This is a stop at 10 p.m., a stop at 2 a.m., a stop at 3 a.m., and the rain's pulling away from us. And then this is when we see a transition. So by 7 a.m., it becomes cold enough to support snow showers, and you can see what moves into our area. Notice there's some darker areas. So these are high-intensity snow squalls. And I want to show you one of the computer models for amounts here. By 5 p.m., it just shows a dusting of snow possible. By Tuesday, Advanced Track showing up to around an inch or 2 in some locations, and then most of that shuts off by Wednesday. But basically, the system will be over a couple of days, and we will have the opportunity for an inch or 2 between really Tuesday and on into Wednesday. I mean, late Monday, Tuesday into Wednesday. 29 degrees tonight, partly cloudy. We'll see some frost out there for tomorrow afternoon. I think it's a decent day, a mix of sun and clouds with a high of 50 degrees, and I don't think Sunday's bad at 54 degrees. 40% during the daylight hours. That goes way up on Sunday night into Monday. 70% chance of snow on Monday. Tuesday, a 60% at 30. And by Wednesday morning, we're 17 with a high of 28 degrees. Mike, it's going to be a lot colder in the middle of next week.
You got that cold air coming down from Canada. All right, let's get out and take a look at traffic for you. Dixie Highway stacked up again for us this afternoon. 150's been a little slow near Highlander Point, and no problems across the Sherman-Minton, the George Rogers Clark, or the Lincoln Bridge. We're still quite heavy as you're coming through downtown. Eastbound 64, 65 north and southbound, a little heavy here as you look out near St. Catherine Street. As we head out into Middletown, traffic's been a little slow moving as we're getting up Shelbyville Road to the Snyder, and the Snyder southbound heavy there at I-64. We've seen traffic building in Fern Creek on Bardstown Road between Hurstbourne and the Snyder, and then out on the Snyder eastbound, heavy traffic as you're coming around that curve between 65 and Preston Highway. From the Oxmoor Auto Group Traffic Center, I'm Mike Marshall with Beat the Traffic.
Not a real happy day for U of L basketball. Eric Crawford and I will break things down further coming up next in sports. There is no postseason basketball this year for U of L. No ACC, no NCAA. That decision coming down today. The university self-imposing a postseason ban. Decision coming from Dr. James Ramsey, from Tom Jurich, and certainly with the recommendation of a guy we saw today for the first time, Chuck Smurt, the former NCAA staffer.
That's right, saw and heard from. We'd never gotten a chance to talk to him. He operates obviously very discreetly. He is an attorney. He's a former NCAA enforcement employee who now works for the compliance group out of Kansas City, and he helps schools get through situations like this. And he has been in on every single NCAA interview since this thing started, as far as I know, including one with Katina Powell. So if anybody knows what's going on, it's Chuck Smurt, but obviously today he couldn't tell us much.
Rick Pitino said the news came as a shock to him.
Not in my wildest dreams I think this would happen. Like I said, I've been giving them motivational things every single day, getting them ready for the tournament, getting them ready for the ACC tournament, and preparing them game by game for something magical, because I thought this was a magical group.
I'm like Coach, pretty much have been in the dark on this whole thing until there were some findings, and we all said once we knew there was findings, we would act on them as quickly as possible, and that's what our decision has been to be.
Based upon the available information, the belief was the institution is in violation. So then we looked at what the appropriate action to take was, and we came out with the postseason ban. I think this is a very significant step for an institution when the case is not concluded.
The ACC's John Swofford issued this statement today. Louisville's decision to self-impose sanctions by removing themselves from many men's basketball postseason opportunities this season is both proactive and significant. President Ramsey, Tom Jurich, and the Louisville leadership have been and continue to be cooperative throughout the process, and we fully support their decision. And Eric, we should note that this is certainly not the end of things. Louisville hoping this mitigates whatever might be coming from the NCAA.
This is just a part of it, because we still haven't gotten to that all-important process where we find out what happened and it's not gone in front of the NCAA. So this is just a part of the process. This is by far not, it's not the end of it.
And there's a thought that that may take well into the summer before we find out.
Yeah, or longer. That's right. Yeah.
All right. We will hear also from Damian Lee and Trey Lewis coming up at 6. Until then, for Eric Crawford, I'm Tom Lane outside the U of L practice facility for WDRB Sports.
Could it be a sign? One fan thinks so. The highway marker and Super Bowl prediction that's gone viral.
And the Mega Millions jackpot for today, $71 million. Tomorrow's Powerball, $136 million.
Well, perhaps no one is feeling more pain from the U of L postseason ban than senior transfers Damian Lee and Trey Lewis. How they're reacting to this live at 6. Plus, police bust a Middletown business accused of selling synthetic drugs, and they say it isn't the first time at 6.
Super Bowl tickets cost even more money than normal this year.
Super Bowl 50 on its way to becoming the most expensive sporting event in U.S. history. SeatGeek says the average ticket price is just shy of $5,000. Experts say this year's game is more expensive in part because of the San Francisco area's high average income.
Is a highway sign in North Carolina predicting the outcome of the Super Bowl. It reads Newton 20, Denver 7. Of course, Cam Newton is the quarterback for the Carolina Panthers, and a longtime Carolina Panthers fan saw the Department of Transportation sign near Denver, North Carolina, and decided to take a picture. The photo has been shared on Facebook more than 33,000 times.
Wow. What's it going to take?
I'm pulling for the Broncos, so
I am too.
Me too.
I mean, I think everybody locally wants Peyton Manning to win another. I think that's the connection. But weather here as we go towards the weekend. I like the weekend. I think we're going to be in the 50s, and then when I see you next week, Gil, it's going to get colder, and by Wednesday we'll be in the teens for lows.
If I don't see you, will it stay warm?
No.
Have a good one.
A decision. Can you do that for me? Okay. I'm talking with Miss Shepard. You know,